Welcome to the Too Posh Podcast.
I am Gabrielle. I am a former New York Mafia princess, originally from Austria. I am the mother of 3 and the owner of Too Posh Boutique. And here with my beautiful co-host, Marcella, my daughter.
Hello, I'm Marcella. I'm a dancer, choreographer, model, and designer for Too Posh. And I say whatever the I want.
Hi, my name is Cruz. I am a stylist. I also own the Society Salon in the Design District, and I am a short little Mexican with a big personality.
I am Polly. I am a certified sexual health consultant and educator, former professional dominatrix, currently working at the largest adult novelty store in the Texas Panhandle.
What will they say next? Welcome to the Too Posh Podcast.
Welcome, everybody. See, this new intro, I don't have to introduce anyone again. This is so cool.
Say hi.
Yeah, hi, everyone.
What up?
We have like a super important show today. We welcome Megan Cruz and her daughter, Sidney.
Hello.
You go by Sid, right?
I go by Sydney.
Yeah, Sidney.
Yeah, or Sid.
We are incredibly grateful that you guys reached out to us to come on the show, because I think today is one of those shows that are so ultra important, because I find it the most important when there's truth to a problem in our world, that you bring attention to it and then try to help and prevent further tragedy. And if you help one person only, then that's like unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wanted to just go back a little bit. Megan, tell us a little bit about you and your children, and then bring us up to date what happened last year with Megan, and just get us there, and then we'll hear Megan's side of it. But just tell me how all that came about.
I have 4 children. Sydney is my youngest. One just graduated college, and I have 2 more in college. So, and I'm a single mom, so it's hectic all the time.
Are they all different dads or the same dad?
Same.
Same dad.
Mm-hmm. I had them young and kind of back to back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
All beautiful children, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes,
And
Cruz
you
has
raised
done
them by yourself?
Mm-hmm. Cruz has done all their hair at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, FYI, Megan and I, we go way, way, way back.
To when?
How many
Over
years?
12. I was counting today earlier.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like
so
all
we
the
go way
salons.
back.
Oh, wow.
And did you meet Cruz at the salon? Is that how you guys met? Or-
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So another stylist, Amra, she was doing her hair before, and then Amra moved away out of state, and we became pretty tight, and now she's my friend client.
Yeah. But Megan, like, when did you start raising them yourself? Like, that's 4 children. That is incredible.
I moved here. See, Sydney, you were 3 or 4, and she's 17 now, with my ex-husband, their dad, from the East Coast, from DC.
Oh, wow.
And we got divorced pretty much 1 year later. So, and all my family was on the East Coast still. And so it was pretty much.
So you didn't have any family. I can relate to
No.
that.
Yeah.
So, and is he present in their life, or
Excuse me?
is he present in the children's life?
Not
really.
on a, no.
No. Okay.
No.
So now you're raising them by yourself,
Mhm.
and you're new in the city. So she's 4.
Yeah, it
Right.
was,
Okay.
and my parents helped me.
Who
move over
doesn't know,
there.
Highland Park is probably the what is it, like the Beverly Hills of Dallas? You
Right.
could say.
Also
like
one
very,
of the best school districts.
Yes.
Yeah, very upscale.
So if you're
Yeah.
going to be in Dallas with 4, not have to pay for private school,
Yeah,
that's
right,
a better place to be.
Yeah.
So thankfully, my parents were able to help get a house there, so I could send them there and be close to them.
Okay, so you're a sophomore in high school.
Second
Is-
semester.
Everything going great? Is she doing well in your eyes, or do you see little problems arising?
Well, going back a little bit, she was a really excellent soccer player. Has always played select
Oh, wow.
on teams. She was on the high school team at that time, Highland Park's soccer team, which is well known.
Oh, yeah.
And was wanting to play for college. that September of her sophomore year, so the beginning of the year, she got a really bad concussion. Like knocked her out. She was out of school for a little while. But there was definitely something started going on kind of during the summer, and I couldn't put my finger on it. But simultaneously, at the same time, I had gotten in a really bad accident with an 18-wheeler.
Oh my God.
That's why my voice I've had several surgeries on my neck.
What?
So it was
Oh my God.
just a mix of really bad, not really being able to see what was going on because I was...
You yourself were dealing with a lot of stuff, but what you saw, what was it? Like, what did you notice with her?
She started having anxiety attacks, and I didn't know how to handle them. I think I was so overwhelmed and with what I had going on that I just didn't, and I hadn't really experienced that in my own life or anybody around me, and it was very frustrating, and we fought a lot.
Well, and she's also your fourth, so you have like already done this 3 times, and it's good, and then you have something come up, and you're probably confused on top of it.
Yeah,
right?
well, and she's a lot like me. She's very stubborn, hard-headed. Very much out of all my kids, she's the most like me. So it was just a mix of, I missed a lot of signs for sure. Now looking back.
Yeah, right.
And then the fights we'd get into and me being angry at her. Now everything that's come out, it's definitely been tough to.
So take us to that day when you got that call from school. And we'll go back to all that to hear your side of it, Sidney. I just wanted to know that day. You get a phone call from the school, and they say what?
But the day I got the call, he was like, she couldn't give me a straight answer. I don't feel comfortable. You need to come get her now and take her to Children's, get her evaluated. And I still was kind of like, okay. I remember driving to school and being really frustrated.
Yeah, you're probably irritated because you're kind of like, what is this about? And not realizing what's going on with her.
And I remember we stopped by the house after I picked her up, and she was acting different. And I could tell something was different. Like she was like following me around the house because I was like grabbing stuff because I knew we were going to be there forever. And it just felt different. Something felt different. And so we went down there to Children's. We tell them what we're checking in. She needs evaluation. I think they know all, there's probably many kids that go in there for that, and put us in a room. Just a regular ER room at the time. And then the nurses came in, or doctor or nurse, one of the two, and were asking her questions. She asked me to leave the room. And it was like 10 minutes later, the nurse came out and was like, we're locking down the room. I don't know exactly. I've never known exactly what she told them. And I don't know if that's why she asked me to leave the room. She didn't want me to know. And it was just like everything hit. Of
like an emotional breakdown.
Just the reality of what I missed.
Were there drugs involved?
She used marijuana sometimes itself, but nothing. Not like.
But that
addicted.
day, were you on anything?
No.
No pills, no drugs, no nothing. So
this is pure. Well, and right before, actually, we went in, it was in January, she had a friend commit suicide in December that she knew. And that was a big trigger, too.
Were you
I forgot
close
that.
with that friend?
I wasn't super close with him, but like a lot of my friends were close with him, and I had like every morning at school, I would sit with him and his friends, and it was just, someone, and even if you're not that close, you just see him every day, and then you notice like, oh, like he's not there anymore.
Right.
And like he's your own age. It's definitely like it hits you like, oh wow.
But of course.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, Sidney, want to tell us how you got there? Like, tell us about your childhood. Like, did you feel like you had a happy childhood and early high school, maybe?
Yeah, like my normal childhood. Definitely had some issues with my father growing up. He just wasn't the best father. Like he wasn't like abusive or anything. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink at all. But it was just his personality that was just so childish and manipulative, that it was tough. And I guess, I mean, growing up, it was fine. I think everything started during 8th grade when I like started to notice that there was like something wrong with me. I was always so tired. I was, you know, doing school and like I just felt so slow. Like I couldn't keep up with everyone. And in school, I couldn't focus. I'd sit in class and I'd notice like it's been 30 minutes and I'm already like, I've been in my head the whole time. I hadn't been listening to the class. And it was frustrating because, you know, I would try my best to like focus, but every time I try and focus, it's just my mind would
wander.
Yeah, because at that time, I had ADHD, but I wasn't like diagnosed with it. So I was just kind of like, oh, maybe, you know, I'm making it up. Like, because whenever I get sick, I not over exaggerate, but like I start thinking, I'm like, oh, what if I have this? What if I have that? Like, so like a lot of the issues,
Like thinking that what you have is worse.
Yeah. So I had issues of just thinking like I couldn't understand what was wrong with me at the time. And it started really getting bad freshman and sophomore year because everything just kind of went downhill because soccer was a big part of my life. And I played for 12 years. And after a while, you know, freshman and sophomore years when it started becoming such like a chore for me to go to because when I got on this new team, it was an ECNL team, so it was a lot higher than what I had normally been on. I wasn't that great. Like I wasn't up to where the other girls were. So the coach wasn't like, he didn't like me, I could tell. And none of the girls would like talk to me at all besides like 2 of them. And so I felt so like left out almost. And I hate that feeling. That's like one of my worst feelings is just being left out and just like, you know, they'll have their like circle group and then there's me and like maybe one other girl on the side. And it really took a toll on me. And I would go home crying from like almost every practice.
So you changed teams. Why?
Well, once during this practice, I got a concussion and I spent a week at home and the coach didn't contact my mom till a week later to see if I was okay. And that's when my mom, she was kind of like, okay, you know what? Like, we're done. We're leaving. Like, even though we have a contract, like, you know, I was going home crying from it, like every practice. And he, like, you could tell he didn't care. And so I went on this new team. Thankfully, they didn't make me try out, but it was good. I didn't have any issues on that team. But
it's that team where you felt left out.
Yeah.
Like, the typical, that age, you're going somewhere where they have been together and then it's hard to break into the circle.
Yeah, especially like with a soccer team, you like, you know, it's almost like a sisterhood where you all get super close. But whenever you're the new person, you definitely feel like a little left out because you don't understand some of the stuff they've like done before. I mean, they weren't mean to me necessarily, but they just, you know, you could feel the like the distance.
Yeah, of course.
And I had the same kind of issue on my high school team. No one was like, they weren't mean to me or anything, but, you know, I'd try and talk to someone and they kind of just would walk away. And I was like, like, all right. Like, you can tell like who the favorites are and who, you know, who likes who. They have their like little groups. And a lot of my friends weren't on the same team as me. And all the girls who were on my team were all friends, but I wasn't really friends with them. So it was kind of like I've known them since I was little, but you know, you're just not good friends. So like I kind of was just left.
Yeah. So then that's hard because that makes you sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because like, you know, with soccer, it's a big part of being really close to your team and working together. But when you notice that you're one of the ones that's left out and like when you can't get a part of it, it's frustrating. And one of the like, I don't cry that much, but one of the one things that makes me cry is like frustration. And so like not being able to work with these girls and being, you know, kind of the outcast, like feeling like that, it really sucked because it's just, you know, you want to fit in, you like try everything, but you know, it just doesn't work and you just kind of feel stupid. So going into sophomore year, after I had it was actually the exams. It was the before Christmas exam is when he had killed himself, and it was really difficult for a lot of people because it's someone your age. Even if you don't know him, you feel bad for like, why am I so like affected by this? I didn't even know him that well. Like, and you don't want to seem like you're I don't know how to explain it, but like you don't want to, it looks just kind of bad, like if you're expressing that feelings. But all of his friends were like, if you're feeling bad, it's okay to feel bad, even if you didn't know him. Like, it's someone.
Well, it's kind of like your first experience with loss, and that makes it really difficult.
I mean, even if I didn't know him that well, you had those like casual conversations. You see that face in the hallway, and then like the next day, you're like, oh, he's really gone.
Have you experienced death before this?
I was just going to say that, unfortunately, one of the things with Highland Park is I don't know if you remember, but you've had 2 friends' parents. And then through my older kids, I think they've all experienced at least a child or a parent being there.
Also,
committing suicide?
Middle school, I think, or it's either middle school or elementary school, we had another girl, her mom committed suicide as well. So it was just kind of a common thing.
Did that affect you like this one, though, because you actually knew this person? Because, I feel sometimes death can be traumatizing, and especially when you know someone and when you're not ready, and then at an age, not saying that you're, young or anything, but you're just never ready for something like that. And then when it catches you off guard, it can be traumatizing.
Well, and this is the first person your age. Most of them before were
and
like
that you
parents.
knew, and you probably had a couple conversations, whatever, but like,
and
it
definitely
was someone that was that close.
And definitely with the stress of exams coming up, it was very stressful. And so with the school, how they deal with that stuff is, every teacher in every room has to announce on this piece of paper that, there's a classmate. I don't think they don't say names or how, like they don't describe it. They're just like, someone has passed away and they won't be, here anymore. And if that person was in your class, they have a counselor that comes in that class and explains, so-and-so is not going to be attending this class anymore. They sadly have passed away. And they like kind of go into detail, like, if you need any counseling, like, come to us and we'll help you. Like, don't, like, you can show your emotions. There's no reason to hide, even if you didn't know them. It's still like, it's hard to think about whenever they're, your age. And it's just, it's like a weird parallel where you're just, because you don't think about death that often. You don't realize like how close it is, like how real it is. Because, you don't want to think about it. But then whenever you see that someone your own age, 16, like, it's just a weird thing to realize that how...
I feel it's hard to be vulnerable at a certain age, or to let yourself be vulnerable and open up, because, at that age, I think we all have these walls up and we're really like scared of who we let in, because there's all those quote unquote mean girls, and it's high school is a lot of
Very
pressure,
tough.
man.
Lots of pressure.
So to become vulnerable and all that pressure, it's difficult, and at that age, you don't want to be vulnerable. You're trying to be like tough and I don't know. I totally understand how, you can't put that in words because you haven't really like experienced it before.
I think today more than ever. I think especially public high school stress and pressure is probably harder than ever before. I'm not trying to minimize it.
And then this one particular high school too is like,
it is
extra.
Definitely. I think actually almost a month or two later, a freshman had committed suicide after him. So it was a double in 1 year. Like 2 people had committed suicide, and everyone, all the parents and all the students were getting really upset with how Highland Park was dealing with it, because, announcing, 2 people have passed away, And then in their classes, this person's not going to be here, and that's it. There's nothing else. Like, there's no
conversation.
Yeah.
No memorial.
They
nothing.
push it. They like almost
They
want to
don't
hide
want
it.
to. Yeah.
It's very like, especially if you're close with that person, it's very insulting almost. Like, you're just trying to hide the fact that like 2 kids have just committed suicide in your
So
school.
let's go back to you though. Like,
Okay.
so you then are struggling with that. You're struggling with the pressures of exams.
Yeah.
And then how are you feeling inside?
So they didn't make us take our exams, especially people who were dealing with that, which was very helpful because obviously taking your exams during that would be difficult. And I think after that, everything kind of was spiraling downhill and I could feel it.
For you, in what way? Tell us.
Well, you didn't go back to like how this all started. Like the bigger point.
Oh yeah.
This was before. These were just triggers that came along. I think that's an important part.
Going into high school, my freshman year, I was, it was the summer going into freshman year. So I was about, I think I had just turned 16. I was raped, and it was how I lost my virginity. And it was a very difficult situation because I don't really like calling it rape because I was drunk, very, very drunk, and he was sober. And in a way, like I asked for it, but at the same time.
Were you dating?
No. This was...
Who is this person?
He was a junior, and I was going into freshman year. And...
was this at a party?
No, this was in his car. Because I left the party and went in his car. And I remember being in the front seat of his car, and I couldn't see out the front window. I was that drunk. Like, it was... Like, you could tell I was just everywhere. I was slurring, and he told me, he was like, you can't be mad at me in the morning. And that's why I was like, oh yeah, no, like, no, I won't, like, and that's why it was so difficult for me to, either call it rape, call it not, because it was, you never know. And actually straight after, he was like, oh, I gotta go, and dropped me off. And I went straight up to my friend's bedroom and I was bawling, crying, because actually being a Christian, my virginity was super important to me. And like, I obviously did not want to lose it in that way, but it was so difficult knowing that I did that. And like, it
You didn't forgive yourself?
No, not at all. I was completely just horrified that I did it like that, and just, I felt so disgusted in myself. Like, years later, even so, I would have, flashbacks to where I'd, like PTSD of where I could physically feel that same thing that happened to me that night. And it was just like anything that like involved, that like correlated it to that, I could physically feel what was happening again and again. And it was so like...
Traumatic.
Yeah, it was horrible. And I was always so disgusted in myself for what had happened. And, I felt like a whore. Like, I just, because you hear all these things, and I just was disgusted. And I didn't ever talk about it till, I never really said anything about it besides to my friend, because I was so confused of what it actually was. I was like, was that my fault? Like, was that his? What was that? That's why I had, for months, I like was talking to my therapist and was like, I don't know how do I deal with that? What do I do? I never did deal with it. I always pushed it to the back of my head. That's why, as the years went on, everything started to pile up, because I never dealt with my issues. I would push them in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. I can do this. I'm fine. And so I became so emotionally numb. I was not able to literally feel anything. Like, I would go throughout the day. I could obviously fake it. When I'm with my friends, I'm all happy. Like, oh, yeah, let's go party. Let's go do this. But I couldn't feel it. I would go months without crying. And whenever I would cry, I'd cry for about 30 seconds to 45 seconds or a minute. And I'd be totally exhausted from that, from crying for that long. And And that's all I could do. Like, that's all that would come
But it
out.
all points back to that.
Not everything.
No.
I mean, like, it was a big issue, but, you know, with everything that kind of led up, everything was just piling, and just, I just wasn't dealing with anything. Because, you know, I thought I was, but obviously I definitely was not. I was just putting on a happy face. Like, I didn't want to worry anyone, because at this time I was kind of like, excuse me, the therapist for my friends. So, you know, when you're telling someone your problems, you don't want them to, or like if someone's telling me their problems, I don't want them to feel bad. Because like if they know I have something going on, they're like, oh, I don't want to put this on you. So I would not tell anybody like my problems, anything deep. I was like, no, I'm totally fine. Like, tell me what's going on. I will like be glad to help you. And so with all my issues, I would add on my friends. And, you know, they tell me this, tell me that. And it just was piling. And I didn't think about it till everything broke. So I would be in my room and I was so confused of what was going on. Because this was, with all of this in the beginning happening, freshman and my sophomore year, I wasn't going to therapy. So I didn't know what was going on with me. I was freaking out in my bedroom. I would throw things against the wall. I'd bang my head against the wall. I would be in my room screaming, crying. I would rip off my mattress to my bed, build a barricade on both my doors, and just kind of lay there and just be like screaming in my pillow. And
Did you ever know that this was happening?
There was a few times, and he's my second oldest. I would go in, Julie's gone, and like I just didn't know what to do. Just at a loss for like how to
handle it.
Well, and then hearing her say that pattern of you know, piling everything up, sucking it in, just letting yourself cry. I mean, that's like exactly what I've done to survive through all these years. And I mean, so much that 4 kids need, you know, you're not gonna be able to supply everything, but like I'd have those once every 4 months, like 30-minute cry. Okay, suck it up. Now I got to move on.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely relate to that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
everyone.
I'm so
can.
unemotional, but when
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like, okay, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
I mean,
Yep.
you have those like certain triggers that will make you break down in 2 seconds, but it's only those certain ones.
And I hear you, and I'm listening to you, and I feel your struggle. I feel what you have is kind of like this emotional baggage that you do not know how to let go of. You don't know how to channel that energy into, you know, what to do, so you just keep it in. I can totally relate that because it's what I do too. And like I'm listening to you, and you know, I know exactly what you're talking about, how you know you just have these issues and you just keep them in, and you hold them in, and then you know something doesn't even have anything to do with that issue, just boom, and you just blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's someone that's like close to you, that you love, that you know that blowing up to them isn't gonna really like, you know, disrupt the relationship or anything. You know, it's usually like a mom or, you know, super close friend or something. And I mean, what you're saying, I totally can relate to it.
Yeah.
I think also that at this age, this high school age, when this happens, I think sometimes when you're not dealing with it, they become bigger and bigger, even in your own mind,
Mhm.
right? If you could talk it out and get rid of it, then there may not even be so big. Like you can learn ways to deal with it. But when you have no help, then it just becomes bigger and bigger in your own brain.
Well, that same counselor, when he called me the day to take her, he told me, he's like, the 2 parents of the kids, the one in, I guess, January, the freshman that committed suicide, and the one in December, he's like, I talked to both those parents and they didn't listen. Like, don't make the mistake they did. I mean, same kind of situation. He called them, told them to go
And
get
they didn't
evaluated.
take-
No.
What were some of the things you were saying to your counselor? I mean, were you just exhausted from dealing with everything? I mean, what were you feeling exactly?
Well, how it led up to me going to the counselors was the night before is I was planning to commit suicide. I was waiting for my mom to go upstairs, to get to the medicine cabinet, and I was crying. I was crying for a minute, and it was late at night, and the only reason I didn't do it was because I fell asleep from crying. I was so exhausted from that.
But what made you, why did you want to do that? I guess is my question, and what I feel like would help some people, because there's not a lot of people you can talk to ask them why or what seemed so big.
But like until that moment, like were there those nights you felt worse? The days leading up to that, were you worse?
When you, especially like, when you're at this age and you feel all of this stuff and you think about, you have all this stuff that you're thinking about, and then to add on, oh, I have a huge test tomorrow. I have all this homework to do. It's so draining. And you're just at that point where you don't necessarily want to die, but you don't want to deal with anything. You don't want to be alive. Like, you don't want to deal with all the stuff that you have to. And it's tiring. It's just, you get to that point where you're so tired that, I don't want to do it anymore. You give up.
Is it pressure from the school? Is it your own pressure you put on? Is it pressure from your family? Where's the pressure coming from? Yeah.
It's all of it. It's just everything piling on and no ways of letting it out. Like,
no release. It's just push. You got to go to good school. You got to get good SAT scores. You got to get good.
Yeah.
Like, especially in a higher school like Highland Park, which is pretty much like a private school.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You expect a lot.
Yeah, they would have, you would have almost, so we have 8 periods a day, and almost every week you would have one day where you would have over 5 or 4 tests in that one day in different subjects.
8 periods a week, 45 minutes, a class.
And you would have
5 days a week.
If you had like English, math, and then science, and then
Fridays.
I don't know, like a elective, say you would have a test in English, and then next period you have a test in math, and the next period you have a test in science, and the next period you have a test in that elective. And you're kind of sitting, the night before, like, how do I, like, you kind of make a decision of which tests am I going to pass and which tests am I going to kind of fail. Like, I have to study for some of them, but I can't, like, do it all. Especially with me, I struggled with math and science the most. I was horrible at math. I still am, actually. But it was so frustrating to see, like, me, till like the very last minute, everyone's done with their tests. I remember specifically in one of my math classes, I sat there and was writing and started crying because I was the last one and I couldn't finish.
Well, I will tell you, from everything you say, you and I are like twins, and I understand, and I was the same way in school. I had dance as my outlet, and as a choreographer and teacher, I work with a lot of teenagers. So I think from my experience, I can be an influence for them, but not every teenager gets that influence. I don't know if it's just the way things work, circumstance. It's like you didn't have, and I'm not talking like mom or parent. It's like that other outside influence to help guide you through that, because I can talk to my teenagers to let them know, like, you're not by yourself. Like, look at me, I'm crazy. And I cannot sit still, and I was horrible in school, and I was the only one who couldn't concentrate, and I couldn't take a test. I just had to take a test, and for a week I broke out in hives and was sobbing, crying, because I am in my 30s and I still cannot take a test to save my life.
She called sobbing, crying after the test.
Yeah, I just can't do it. It's horrible. I was shaking. So it's literally PTSD from that. And what I wish that young people, because I work with a lot of teenagers, and what I wish they could understand or have somebody tell them outside of their high school is that this is so small compared to, and it doesn't mean it feels so big, and everybody is different. I'm always like, I wish I would have known that there were these tools to help me back then. I mean, we didn't have where people knew ADD. I just was the kid who was like,
Yeah.
somebody get me out of this chair. I'm gonna freak out.
You know,
Like,
you're sitting
yes.
doodling on your test.
It's horrible. And
Yeah.
I couldn't, I would look around the room. I was just like you. And I couldn't understand why everybody could focus but me. I was like, what the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah.
I got to get out of here. I'm going to freak out. But I had an outlet. I had dancing. It was the only place I could focus. So I wonder if, I don't know how you make awareness in a school like that, or how you let kids know that it's okay. Because I find tests, and people probably get mad at me for this, I find them to be unfair because it doesn't mean you're not smart. You're just good at memorizing. And I find that to be
100%.
I saw
awful
this
pressure.
That's the problem with
this-
SATs and ACTs.
Yeah.
They could be smart,
Yeah.
but now we're going to base this test on getting into college.
No, I saw this
And I
like
never took those.
cartoon representation. It was like an instructor.
Yeah.
Yep. They're like, you have a test of climbing this tree. It was a fish, a monkey, an elephant, a tiger, and all these different animals. And they're like, this one test, you got to climb this tree.
Well,
Some are
yeah.
going to be good and
That-
some are not.
But that's it though. Like like later on after high school,
Yeah.
like your personality, I can feel you have such a sweet, amazing spirit around you. You really do. Like you're an amazing person. You're an amazing young woman. And I just feel like you're going to do big things. Like the high school stuff is going to look so small to you eventually. And people are going to get mad at me too, but I don't care. Not everybody has to go to college.
Yeah.
It's not,
not
for
for
everyone.
Yeah.
And I think it's extremely important that parents, especially in these
High
Highland
affluent areas.
Park, that it's become such a big thing that it's almost like the parents are celebrating the colleges that children can go
It's
in.
about the parents.
It's-
They just want to brag.
They
They want
wanna
to put those
say- they
yard
wanna
signs,
brag, yes.
the car stickers.
Yeah.
Let
It's so
me-
silly. But I also think you're an empathetic person.
Mhm.
So what happens to people, because I'm like that, you take on everybody's, because you want to be so empathetic to how they feel. So you literally take on their
Yeah.
emotion, and it can be very draining.
In Highland Park, I will say, we, as a school, like you will see no fights in the school because parents will sue, first of all. Second of all, kids in HP are taught that they are a representation of their parents. We go into the school, you're like always told, like everybody I know, you are representing your mom and your dad. And if you embarrass them, that is the worst thing you can do. If you look bad, that is the worst thing you can do.
Who teaches that? The parents or the school?
Parents,
Parents.
not the
Yeah.
school. No, the schools
Parents.
wish the kids would be. My counselor would tell all four, because he had all four of my kids, and he's like, your kids are like the only ones that come into the office themselves to change classes or have a problem with the class. These parents call, they take care of everything for the children.
Ah.
But because it's not
Everyone's-
working out for them,
Yeah.
maybe because your kids aren't getting the grades. And he's like, and I've always pushed him because I can't take care of all of them, just myself, like be independent,
Right.
go in there. But yeah, it's not pushed by the school. I don't want to put all that on them. It's
Yeah. I was
it's the
just
parents
curious. Yeah.
for sure.
It's almost like sad because you'll see, seniors still having their parents like do everything for them. I have some friends where I'm just kind of like you can't do that by yourself. I mean, like I'll help them, but I'm like, you need to learn, That's
No, it goes into college too.
yeah. No, I
Crazy.
just sometimes I look at some people in my school and I'm like, how are you gonna survive in college if you can't like do this on your own? They're like, how do I do this? How do I do this? I'm like, girl, what do you mean? Like they don't take risk of maybe try and figure out for themselves. They're so scared of
Ma-
making mistakes that
a
it's
failure.
Just, yeah, they
because
don't want to
they're not allowed.
embarrass their.
So are you always in school? Do you feel like you're comparing yourself to other kids, or are you just putting that much pressure on yourself? Because from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like your mom is that person, right?
I
Yeah,
feel peer pressure though is not always your friends telling you to do something, but I feel peer pressure is just like when you're surrounded by a certain element that you want to kind of, be a part of it. So, it's not just, your peers peer pressuring you, but yourself. Because you want to be a part of something. And especially like in high school,
Yeah.
where I feel, there's a lot of pressure to be cool and to be popular. And in order to do that, you have to do certain things. You have to get good grades, and you have to be cheerleader, and you have to be, top whatever.
Athlete.
Yeah. And to get to that status, and then one thing is getting there, and then to stay there. And I mean, there's, high school, I feel that's like how we start, like, getting all this, pressure on to do better and to be better and all this.
I hated high school. My life changed after.
I had a friend who came from the colony, and one of the things she said was, in Highland Park, the parents are more involved than the students. And one thing I've learned in Highland Park, the parents talk more shit than the kids about each other, like about the kids.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've read some of the stuff about that Park Cities chatter.
It is.
I have
insane.
not. What is that?
Facebook group.
Fill us
What?
in.
I will,
a
because
lot.
it's so my daughter Juliana, she's a sophomore at OU right now. She had told me about it while she was still in Highland Park, and I'm like, I live there. I like survive there. I don't hang out with, like, I'm not like and I'm a lot younger than a lot of the moms, especially with as older my kids, a lot of the parents are, but I've just never really, like, I'm cordial, but
You don't hang out with them like as friends.
No.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, especially being a single mom there and the young one. I wasn't when they were all in Armstrong Elementary. They thought I was the nanny. All these kids coming out, and heaven forbid if a dad came over, I was just like, don't, it's just, you didn't want to be talked to. Yeah, it's because everybody has nannies there.
Right. There's
but
that
this
too.
Facebook group that my daughter Julie told me about, and she's like, you need to see if you can get in on it. I was like, okay. She's like, there's a lot of parents that talk about the kids individually.
In a Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. Park Cities chatter. I'm blasting this one.
You should, because that's disgusting.
So not okay.
No, yeah, it's bad.
No, even on the
bad.
soccer field, the one thing, you can talk trash, but you never talk about a child. Like,
No.
specifically ever.
Right.
So you have to, like, in some of the groups, you have to request to get in, answer questions. Do you live here? I had to send a picture of my license showing an address
Oh, no
there.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
It was actually just called out from the what's that justice? I forgot the group, but the Park Cities chatter was called out for a closed group to be racist.
Oh yeah,
You saw that.
There was a whole thing that went out saying like Highland Park is racist. Like
no, they kept it to the chatter because they keep it so locked down. So I finally got in, and I'm like trying to scroll because Julie told me all this stuff. I mean, I really don't care because I don't want to know all this stuff. But if they're really talking about kids, that's just not okay.
No.
They have enough pressure.
Yeah.
the parents have nothing else to do. It's all
True.
like
The moms.
trophy wives.
Just the mom.
The moms.
Yeah.
It is the mom.
I gotta move out of here after this thing.
I know, honestly.
I was just going to ask you.
You got one
we're about
last
to
year.
Well, no, we're almost done. And actually, we're planning to move in February anyway because she can finish out. But I'm like, I don't even
Are
care.
you afraid of backlash?
No.
I was going to ask you.
She does not care.
I do not care. I've
about
survived
you?
there.
I think it's more of one of the problems of the parents is the parents know the teachers, the parents know the coaches, the parents know. So once one rumor goes around, it's spread around to all the adults. So all the adults think this about this one kid now.
A child.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're gonna put.
And they're
It's literally
quadruple
like
pressure.
yeah,
They're
no, it's
rumors.
like rumors are spreading about kids in the like adults. And so now all these adults are looking at this kid. They're like, no, they're telling their kids, oh, you can't hang out with her because I've heard this from her mom that, she's smoking weed and she's drinking. You can't hang out with her.
All the
because-
while these parents are drinking and showing up at my experience with parents getting their keys taken away at pickup because they were drunk. Being at Muffins for Mom in Armstrong, and like you can, if you're an alcoholic, it just reeks off of you. It's not just drinking and you smell your breath. It's like coming through your pores.
Right.
I will never forget a 4th grade meet the teacher. This lady told me you can fit a full bottle of wine in a Venti Starbucks cup, which I never knew that.
Full bottle of wine.
Never knew this. Probably would never
Me
figure it out.
neither. I would never know that.
Wow.
To take to the.
Oh
Last
shit.
minute.
Well, they
Yeah.
say that all the moms have alcohol in their Yeti cups. They did it in dance.
Well, yeah, but not. I didn't know that they would take a venti Starbucks cup and pour a whole
never
bottle
knew that.
of wine.
I mean, I would have never known that.
I knew that there was some extra in some cups, but I didn't know a full bottle of wine.
It's unbelievable.
But to share that information,
Yeah,
and be so like,
here, because we're all drunk around here.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I'm like just sitting there like,
Wow.